Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is IJ. So today I'll be showing you an easy method to sew an off-shoulder 8 pieces blouse. So if you don't know how I arrived at this, I have a detailed video on how to draft and cut an off-shoulder 8 pieces blouse. So I went ahead to add an interfacing cord hairstay on all of the panels and also on the lining. So I also went ahead to pad the front piece with a lightweight wadding. So the next thing to do is to couple the panels together, and I'm going to start with the front panel. So I already have the waist, the bust point and the underbust notched on all the panels. So I'm going to take this just like this, making sure the notches meet each other, and I'm going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And once I'm done, I'll be attaching this side to this panel and also this to this panel with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So guys, I'm done sewing the front panel and this is how it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do is to couple the back panels. So I'm going to attach this panel to this and I'm going to sew it with 1/2 inch, also making sure that the notch areas are touching each other, and I'll be doing the same thing to this panel. So once I'm done with this, I'll also sew the linings together. So guys, I'm done with the back piece and I went ahead to give it a good press. So you can already see the flare effect here. I did the same thing to the lining and I went ahead to give it a good press, and also the front piece I gave it a good press. So the next thing I'm going to do is to work on the neckline. So if you watched the first video, you remember I left the neckline for both the front and the back panel straight. So for the back, I'm just going to go ahead and place it like this. So before I create the neckline, I have to take into consideration the zip allowance. So I have a 1.5 inches zip allowance here. So the next thing to also consider is what I took as the off shoulder. So I'm going to determine how deep I want the back to be. So I had the 4 inches off before. So I'm going to take 7 inches. So I'll be marking 7 inches here. So I want an oval shape here. So I'm going to make use of my curve. And I'll connect like this. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut this out. So after cutting the neckline, this is how it looks like. So I'll move over to the front panel. So for the front panel, I'm going to come down here by 2 inches. So I already have 4 inches off, and I'm going to mark the 2 inches. That is at this 6 inches here. So I want to create something like a sweetheart neckline. So I'm going to connect from here all the way to this point. So I'm going to cut out. So guys, this is how it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do is to repeat the same thing on the lining. And after doing that, I'm going to use the lining to turn the neck. And I'll do the same thing to the back panel. So I'm done attaching the lining. So the next thing I also did was to notch inside. And I'm going to run a stitch this way on the lining all the way up onto this end. So this is to secure the lining, and I'll be doing the same thing on the back panels. So the next thing to do after attaching my lining is to turn the hem with the lining. So I'm going to take this just like this, and I'm going to sew all through with 1/2 inch, and I'll be doing the same thing to the back piece. So I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch all through up onto this point. So I'm done turning with the lining, and this is for the front piece. So this is how the inside looks like, and this is how it looks like outside. So this is the front piece. So this is how the back panel looks like after turning with the lining. And I also went ahead to fix the zipper. So I'll be turning it to the front for you to see how it looks like. So this is the front view of the back piece. So guys, the next thing to do is to put the front and the back panel together and close up. But before doing that, when sewing your blouse, you need to check your neckline. So this is to make sure that your neckline corresponds with what you actually cut. So I used 5.5 inches for the neck width. So I should be expecting to have 11 inches here. So if I have excesses here, I'll simply trim it out to make sure that I have 11 inches here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put the panels together, the front facing the back panel. So that is the right sides facing the right sides of each other. And I'll make sure that this neck width and this neck width align with each other. So just like this. And I'll close it up by shaping with the allowance I have. Alright guys, I'm done fixing the blouse. So this is the final look of the blouse. So I also went ahead to trim some excesses I had inside. So if you have excesses, feel free to trim them out. And I trimmed the waist. I had a little notch at the waist. I gave it a little notch inside. Then I also went ahead to fix the sleeve. So this is a puff sleeve, an off-shoulder puff sleeve. So if you don't know how to make an off-shoulder puff sleeve, I have a detailed video on how to make this sleeve. So I'll be leaving it in the description box, or I'll link it up here. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.